Elizabeth Banks.
I haven't seen a trailer or anything like
Taco
that.
Tuesday.
Is there a trailer out?
Guardians Volume 3, you mean? You mean the Jurassic World trailer?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell you what, though, I saw Upgrade on Sunday.
I had no clue. No clue.
Where do we go with that, Gary?
All right. What's up, guys?
I'm still waiting for that tracker, by the way.
That tracker?
He's slacking.
For a mask?
No.
All right. What's up, everybody? And welcome to the newest podcast coming at you here each and every single week on the Realm of Collectors YouTube channel. Welcome to episode 23 of Breaking the Mold. If audio is your preferred platform, we got you covered. We are on iTunes and Google Play, through whatever podcast platform you prefer. And please remember to subscribe, leave us a 5-star review. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. And Jordan, what should they do to that like?
You should kill Bossa Slam that like button.
That's right. That's right. And you should hop into the live chat below. All right. Chop it up with the rest of the ROC fam. Chop. I'm Hurricane BX, and I'm going to let you know that tonight's episode of Breaking the Mold is brought to you by Crashbox Customs, the official Mezco supplier of the Realm of Collectors. Visit Crashbox Customs on social media, and please say the word Realm when ordering.
Come on, everybody.
And you may get a surprise gift. We actually have a sales representative from Crashbox Customs here with us tonight, and he could let you know what the latest pre-orders are.
Oh, hello, everybody. My name is Chris here from Crashbox Customs. We have available the Netflix Punisher Blade, along with Jason from the Friday the 13th movies. Hit us up on social media and mention the word Realm for a special gift.
All right.
You gotta get that guy that calls for 4 horsemen.
Yeah, I should do that. I should have gotten his name like White Mike or something like that.
Yeah, White Mike.
All right. Let's say what's up to the crew. First up, Energon Addict. How you doing tonight, Pop?
Yo, what's good? Happy Tuesday, guys.
Happy Tuesday, brother. What's going on? How was your weekend?
It was interesting. I'll leave it at that. It's very interesting. But I mean, I did have a few special guests that stopped by on Friday night, which was a nice surprise, and it was more than welcoming. You know, when they got here, they were here probably about a good 2-3 hours, and they probably got here around like 10:30 at night. And we all chilled in the backyard, just chopped it up. It was nice.
Late night rendezvous. That sounds dope. Sounds dope.
I had Brian Brink in my fucking house.
Whoa,
it's great.
Dave has some kind of time dilation device at his house or something, because you go there, you think you're there for 30 minutes, you're there for 3 hours.
It's called pod.
I tried getting him to partake. He's like, no. All right.
Nah, man, I enjoy having a bright future.
All right, man. The next up, the analyzer, Brian Brink. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm happy to be here with you guys. I happen to have a wonderful weekend hanging out with you guys in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn in the house, without a doubt. Brooklyn.
And on a side note, I think I took my last stroll through Toys R Us today. It was kind of sad.
So sad.
I decided to stop in and be like, are the sales any better? I don't know, but it doesn't matter, because I walk through the whole place and I'm like, well, there's nothing here I want to buy. And like half the stores is like crossed off with police tape.
Yeah, that's how mine was today. So. Sad.
Yeah, that is sad. I went last week also, and that was probably my last walkthrough as well. So it sucks. It sucks. That's when it really does sink in.
Anybody thought of going to Babies R Us? Because apparently they're getting toys. Like all those grotesques have showed up at like Babies R Us of all places.
Oh, I've seen a bunch of them. But they're joined. The Toys R Us and Babies R Us are always like co-joined.
Oh, we got standalone
around my area.
Yeah,
so
mine are a quarter mile away from each other. There's toys there, you said, Jordan?
Yeah, apparently I saw in one of the groups, and like one of the Facebook groups, that there was like a whole ton of those exclusive grotesques.
Yeah, dude, there were a bunch. Yeah, a bunch at my store. I was like for $13 and $49 or something like that. But I was like, yeah, I ain't gonna touch these because I probably won't be able to resell them. But they're
You
still
say
there.
that now. You say that
They're
now.
still there. If anybody wants them, I'll go back and get them.
Dude,
If anybody needs that.
Some Dominomics when that Repugnus comes out.
Yeah, 50% off. Wait until 70%, then we'll start talking.
All right. Next up, G Money. How are you, brother?
Dude, hey, thanks, Tom. You're a good guy. No, I'm good. It's good. It's fun to be here. See you guys. Yeah, the weekend was pretty interesting. It was very rainy here, and I was on vacation from work last week, which was great. But you guys all know, as your vacation kind of gets closer to the end, it feels like it speeds up. The time goes by like quicker and quicker. And before I knew it, it was Sunday night and back to the routine this week. So it's
Yeah,
good to
dude.
hang out.
You always just wish you could just turn back the clock on Sunday. It's like, no.
Listen, I always say like the best day is like, to me, like that day before your vacation starts, or like the night before you have a couple days off, maybe together, and it feels like you have all this time stretched ahead of you, and then it's gone. So
Yeah. Before you know it. All right. Next up, Big Dom.
What's going on, guys? How you doing?
It's good.
My weekend, I hit up the Wayne Firehouse Toy Show on Sunday. They have it every first Sunday of every month.
Oh, nice.
So it's a good show. It's always new dealers are rolling in there in and out. So it changes every month to month.
Did
So
you say nude dealers?
no, new.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, so that's how you win stuff from Four Horsemen.
Yes, yes.
I heard they call you Big Dom.
It was good, and just try to keep dry. There was some thunderstorms that rolled through on Saturday, so
Yeah, weather's been all over the place in this area.
yeah, I got a thunderstorm coming through right now. So
Hey Dom, do they still have that little like cafeteria thing in that toy show, or they're making?
yeah, they do, and actually
bacon, egg, and cheese sandwiches.
Yeah, and they were actually cooking. Some dealer was telling me they stepped up to their game, and that the food's coming out. They were really good. So
Nice.
check it out. Check it out.
All right. Next up, Extra Zero. How are you tonight, man?
Hey guys, it's going pretty good. I had a pretty fun weekend. Of course, Gary left out on Friday. We met up in downtown Annapolis. He was
nice.
there on kind
We
of like
did.
a business meeting. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it was actually really cool. It was a cool
And,
place.
It was funny because like I got caught up in traffic. Because like on the way to Annapolis, there's a bridge. So like when I got there, I was having a little trouble finding Gary. So I had a little bit of oh, where's it coming? Is it coming? Oh, when you want to play a sound clip and it doesn't work. Oh, here we go. Gary.
Hey, Zero, where'd you find him in front of DNC?
Funny.
What's he was apparently in front of Dunkin' Donuts, and I was like, "What the fuck's there, Dunkin' Donuts?" But no, it's cool. We had I had a few drinks. It was cool catching up, and it was a not typical Friday night. Saturday I ended up going to a local food truck festival. It was called Taste of Three Cities. It was in downtown Baltimore. They had trucks from DC, PA, and Baltimore, and I had some of the best street tacos I've ever had. These outstanding Korean barbecue wings and fried cheese curds. So I spent a good portion of Sunday turds. Actually, you know what was funny?
Oof.
The truck actually was like a play on words with turds.
Oh wow!
Was the cheese boneless?
Yes, the cheese was boneless. I'm looking through. I'm looking through here, like to see what it was called. It was called. It was eat curds. Yeah, it was a good time. And then Sunday, I went and saw the movie Upgrade, which I highly recommend people check out if you're a fan of John Wick or Drive, Blade Runner. This is a movie that's going under a lot of radars, and it would be up your alley. It was really smart, kind of sci-fi crime drama. And just had a good weekend, and we had to deal with intermittent rain, which it seems like every time I'm off, the rain comes in.
Sure.
But yeah, it was good. It's real good.
Nice, man. Nice. I'm gonna write that down and check that movie out.
Yeah.
Upgrade, you said?
Upgrade, yeah. It's it got like a little bit of social media buzz, but yeah, I'd check it out sooner rather than later because it's probably gonna have a short theatrical run.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, cool. No doubt. All right, we got a very special guest with us tonight, the host of Enter the Realm, Chris Pinkerton. If you're nasty, how you
If you're nasty. What's going on, everybody? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
What is up? How was your weekend?
Man, let me
have
tell
a
you.
pretty good idea, though.
Yeah, so I went to New York City for work last week, and let's see, got there Wednesday. Couldn't find anybody to hang out, so I went and saw a solo showing in like the most hipster part of Brooklyn, apparently. Forgot to ride my skateboard while I wore my flannel shirt with no pants, but maybe next time, right?
Flannel shirt with no pants?
Yeah, we were about 3 blocks from there, Brian. And then to see Thursday night, Robert D. Robert D took me and Jose out. I don't know how that happened, but we had Korean barbecue at Insa Brooklyn, which I think Dave's familiar with as well.
Was your steak well done?
A little bit. What?
Was your steak well done?
No, it was not. It was perfectly done. That was probably some of the best steak I've ever had in my life there. And we did karaoke, and it was wild, and we had a good time. And then Friday night, Brian came up to the city. Me and Brian and E. Prime went to dinner, and then we went out to the boonies, man. We drove forever in the middle of nowhere. No, I'm just kidding. We went to Dave's house, and I hung out with him since he was too good to come hang out with us, so we turned the tables on it.
Oh,
But appreciate the hospitality. And then Saturday, Mr. Brink and I and Jose went to the 5 Points Fest in Brooklyn, which was an absolute blast. And then, geez, it keeps going.
Chris, did you ever get a sunburn on your dome there, or
I didn't. No, I'll tell that story real quick if you guys want to hear it. So we get there and like we couldn't get into 11 because we just had GA. We were going to buy GA tickets, and the VIP line was wrapped around the corner, around the block. So I'm like, shit. Okay, so there's really no reason to even stand in this line. But what I didn't even think about is the fact that we were going to be standing in the beating sun, and I'm bald-headed. And if you're bald-headed and you've ever burnt your scalp, let me tell you, it's not something you ever want to repeat. So we went to 3 bodegas.
Yeah,
3 bodegas, and
looking for
sunscreen or hats.
Or what's it?
Bandanas.
Do-rags.
Yeah. We were, like I said, we were probably in too hipster of a neighborhood for a do-rag, but I did find some sunscreen, and we got in. So that was fun. Then we went and ate a burrito.
Burrito, yeah. Pretty good.
Burrito.
It was good going down. I don't know. You guys, really? I'm glad I got home when I did, because I had to jump off Classic Fanatics real quick, and
oh boy,
had a bit of an evacuation.
Well, I'll tell you, about the time I got home Sunday, it was full.
Was it like that scene in Dumb and Dumber?
Yes.
When Harry's glued to the throne.
And then to cap off the weekend, Jose and I went to the Hammerstein Ballroom at the Manhattan Center, which I'd never been there before, and saw a Ring of Honor TV taping, which was freaking incredible.
Yeah. Yep. Good time.
Thanks to Jose and his wife for their hospitality. Let me crash. And I've officially been to the most houses of anybody on this panel. 1, 2, 3. If you count the guy running the show, 4. So that was pretty cool. So awesome weekend. It was a great time.
That's dope. It was a good time. And same here for me. Like basically the 5 Points Fest and ROH on Saturday was a good time. It was awesome seeing Brink in Brooklyn. You know what I'm saying? Up in my neck of the woods. Yep. Never met Brian in New York City. It's always been Jersey or elsewhere. So that's awesome. And good time. Like that 5 Points Fest is like very artsy. You can't expect to see like any kind of retail stuff there, even though there was some stuff.
Just a touch.
Just a bit. But it's basically a lot of original toys and art and a lot of different other things, which is very good to see. And it was very interesting.
Very diverse clientele. There's girls there at this toy show.
Did you get any numbers?
And they weren't there just holding the hands of dudes buying toys. They were actually full-fledged. So
yeah, it was a good time, so it's nice to see that stuff, things that are new compared to old, and I'm going to pass the ball to Gary. I think he's got an interesting discussion for us tonight as far as that's concerned.
Cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It's so you're talking about seeing some new stuff and looking at all the pictures you had. It was new. It was different. Actually, some of it was downright frightening. Actually, but I can't say it wasn't creative.
Some of it got flagged for the Facebook police.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No titties on Facebook.
A certain picture got flagged.
No titties.
But look, we talked about like the Solo movie, right? ETR talked about it. It's been talked about on a lot of other shows, and when we talk about toy hauls and new figures and things like that, I think there's a thread that I was thinking about, which is the nostalgia piece. And what I was really kind of just curious for you guys is and it doesn't have to be toys, but we can talk movies, we can talk television shows. We've had a lot of series kind of rebooted and canceled, and other things happen recently. But even like in music, I think when is nostalgia not enough? Like, can you guys think of some area of interest in pop culture where the property tried to really rely on that nostalgic feeling and it fell flat, or it just didn't have enough substance or creativity, and the feelings you had, we always talk about chasing the feels, just wasn't enough to either keep your interest or keep you motivated to stay connected with that property?
Yeah. Does anybody want to go first on this?
As a kind of somebody that's vocal about not liking the recent Star Wars movies. I liked Episode 7 and I liked Solo, but I kind of have an intense hatred for The Last Jedi and Rogue One, and nobody can change me on that one. And it just seems like, we're going to slap a Star Wars label on it. Jurassic World, while I still want to see the sequel, I felt that fell flat. The RoboCop remake, all of the recent Alien movies, from Prometheus to the Alien vs. Predators to Covenant. I feel like and Predators as well. I feel like there's just this kind of mentality now. If you slap a label on it, and it works, because I still went and saw these things, but they never captivated me, right?
Mm-hmm. And this coming from a man who's still buying Bayverse figures.
Yeah, I will.
Got him.
Hey, I like good engineering.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that. So this is one of the things I want to say. So even with, a little distaste for, say, The Last Jedi, right? And you mentioned Rogue One.
Yeah.
So even if they were to put out, well, they did. They put out characters from those movies, but even those characters, they don't do enough for you as being from that universe just to put on your shelf, right?
I own no Last Jedi or Rogue One merchandise.
Yeah.
Or Solo, and I did like Solo. I've been tempted to get like a Lando, but then again, I hate Alden Ehrenreich as Han, and it just I couldn't look at that on a shelf and be like, oh, there's Han Solo.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The kid didn't do it for you, huh? He didn't do it for you.
I thought Don Glover was great, but I had to keep reminding myself that's supposed to be Han Solo.
So Jordan, my question is, you just rattled off a lot of properties, and the rest of the guys, the panel, you can kind of chime in. Was it solely the nostalgia piece that motivated you to go see them, or did you think what you saw from maybe pick one of them, but one of those other properties, that it looked interesting and different still?
I think Star Wars, especially with Force Awakens, was a nostalgia thing. I think since we haven't seen the Star Wars movies for so long, going to see that movie brought back nostalgia, just like how I think Star Wars does it the best. With George Lucas in the prequels, he separated those movies with 2 years apart. So when you go to see the next movie, that nostalgia, starts accumulating up, and you go into the movie just because of that feeling. That's what I think is going to hurt Star Wars with regards to how much movies they're pushing out, because that nostalgia is not going to be there. They have to bring their creativity to the movie. which
absence makes the heart grow fond.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So I think the creativity is lacking with their storytelling, and the only property that I feel that doesn't have nostalgia but tells a good story is Marvel. Marvel is telling a good story. People are not going to the movies to go watch Marvel movies for the nostalgia. They're going to watch it for the story that's being told. So that's what they're doing different than other franchises like Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park, like what Jordan said, I think it's a movie that comes out every other year, and when it's gone for a couple of years, and they come back with another one, everyone's going to go watch it because you know that they're just so reminded of the original Jurassic Park, the first Jurassic Park that they've seen, and they want to go watch another Jurassic Park.
Jeff Goldblum's back.
Let's be honest. It's dinosaurs, though. We can't go wrong with dinosaurs.
And Jeff Goldblum.
And the fucking soundtrack and everything else that happens in that fucking movie.
And Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. But like, it'd be interesting to see how well this Jurassic Park is going, this Jurassic World is going to do. Because remember that the first one did great because I think nobody has seen a Jurassic Park movie for a while, and the nostalgia was there for the first one to come. And let's go watch Jurassic Park again.
Chris, you said something interesting, which really kind of sparked a thought real quick. You said absence kind of makes the heart grow fonder. So what's the time frame from nostalgia? Is it being a kid? Is it 5 years? Is there a time limit? Do you guys think is before you start to get those feels from something?
Well, look at like that Blade Runner movie that came out, right? How long did it take for that to drop?
That's not kind of a fair comparison. I don't think.
Well, it's a sequel, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a continuing story. It's not like it took what? How many years? 30 years for the.
About 30 years.
Yeah. But
that's a long time. That's a significant amount of time for nostalgia to be built up. I even say like 20. Like that's the Jurassic World example. I think it had been like the late 90s since the last one came out. Like that's a long time. Like people were ready for a new movie.
Yeah, Blade Runner is a cult classic. So Jurassic Park was a phenomenon. And I think
what would you call the first Predator movie?
The first Predator movie,
awesome.
I would call that a cult classic too. I mean, people still follow that.
A cult classic was something that was never popular when it came out, and I had to go back.
It's like Dom.
Yes. Always a cult classic.
Yeah, like Predator, I think was pretty popular when it came out. And like Blade Runner, that tanked at the box office, but it gained a following. Like Rocky Horror Picture Show, it's a cult classic. And then they tried to, bring that back in a TV special, and it bombed. It didn't have the same charm. Ghostbusters, that 2016 Ghostbusters, right? Controversy aside, a lot of people just said it was a bad movie, right? But they were banking off of our nostalgia to try and get us into the theater.
Yeah, true that, and that shows where sometimes it doesn't. Nostalgia is definitely not enough, for it.
I think it's a recipe for disaster because you're banking on people going to your movie and you're not giving the effort to tell a good story. So, and like you'll put in the old characters and give them that oh look, here's all the old characters from the movies with a little short appearance, and it's great and all, but like. To get them to keep coming back and to watch another movie in your franchise, you really have to start putting some effort into it. And I think Star Wars is going to realize that.
So, guys, just so you know, Predator was the number 12 movie of domestic gross at the box office in 1987. It made $59 million. Does anybody want to guess what the top 3 movies were that year?
What movie was that?
1980. That was Predator, the first Predator movie. Anybody want to guess what the top 3 movies domestic gross in 1987 were?
I bet you they're comedies.
I'll give you a hint. None of them are video games. No, not Lethal Weapon.
Back to the Future.
Adventures in Babysitting.
No.
Yes, Adventures in Babysitting.
E.T.
What I told you, Tom Selleck.
Was 82.
Tom Selleck was in the number 1 movie.
3 Men and a Little
Baby. 3 Men and a Baby.
3 Men and a Little Baby.
I said it. Comedy shit.
Holy shit.
Fatal Attraction is 2, and Beverly Hills Cop 2 is number 3.
Yeah, Axel
Another
Foley.
comedy.
Yeah.
There's no right angles on this house.
How times have changed.
But like looking at that and cheating, I was going to chime in. But that was a good year for movies. Spaceballs, Full Metal Jacket. Inner Space,
It was
Good Morning Vietnam, Batteries Not Included. Now, Batteries Not Included, there's a cult classic.
Inner Space. He threw Inner
So
Space.
so like the way I'm reading this conversation, I mean, for me, it's like, all right, nostalgia, I get it, but it sounds like just to me, it's just a lack of imagination. These people are just, yeah, again, they're banking on us, but watching and buying the merchandise for something that potentially came out 20, 30 years in the past, and they're trying to revamp it because they're lacking new ideas. I mean, the only like movie that comes to mind that kind of like blew me away in the last like 15 years, I would say would probably be like Avatar. That came out of left field. Like there's nothing that came. Yeah. And that move, and they plan on doing what, another 3 or 4 movies in the next decade.
What is it still rendering? Where the fuck are they?
Right.
Well,
They're still waiting for what's his name, Sam Worthington to become.
You know, I will say on the other side of absence makes the heart grow fonder. I don't know what the expectations of performance are of those Avatar movies because it's been so long.
Right.
And it wasn't like it was Star Wars and there's this just fanatical. I mean, do you ever meet anybody? They're like, yeah, I'm real big into Avatar.
Apparently, Dave.
Listen, for its time, from when it dropped, and it was when the DVD came out, it was the best looking DVD you can buy out there.
Oh, absolutely. It was
the CG was phenomenal for the time.
It was what you
nowadays
wanted
it's time it doesn't.
Yep.
Have you ever dressed as a Navi, Dave?
Huh? No, never.
You have you ever blued yourself? Oh wait, that was something different.
I actually did, but I was a Smurf. It wasn't an Avatar.
I know they're really trying to hype Avatar with that Pandora world at Disney. You know, I imagine the marketing for it, they're going to do everything they can to get people excited about it.
Until Star Wars World opens next year, and then nobody cares about Avatar.
Yeah. See, but it's a great example of a new intellectual property that made a lot of money that wasn't relying on nostalgia to sell it, and that's what we're not seeing enough of in Hollywood. Right. Like,
I think you see it, but you don't see it. If you get what I'm saying, like there's new stuff that comes out and people take risks, but it doesn't catch on because people like that familiarity. Like there's this stigma now where it's like, if I go to the movies, I want it to be worthwhile. So I'm going to go see Solo. And then, I go to the movies a lot and I'll say like, I see a movie like Upgrade that's only in the theaters for a couple weeks, or Ex Machina, or Arrival. There is cool stuff that's coming out, but it doesn't get the attention. Like I like Pacific Rim a lot.
Yeah, that's an example of like a new property that didn't really kill it at the box office, and thankfully they made us. Exactly, overseas but not domestic. And they gave it a sequel, and the sequel didn't really burn it up at the box office either. So that might now be a dead franchise because it just didn't catch on.
I think we got new stuff like John Wick.
Just about to say that, so that's a good example. I like that one.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the old stuff is the loudest, and it's like G.I. Joe, for example. Even though there hasn't been anything really relevant in a minute, people still talk about it. Still got a fan base. Masters of the Universe still has a loyal fan base, and when that stuff comes back, people try and get their kids into it. They try and make that loud. I mean, Star Wars was dormant for a while up till the prequels. 97 rolls along and they start pushing out the toys again, and that's something that hadn't been around for 20 years. I mean, I see like Dr. Grant and Ellie Sadler and Robert Muldoon action figures on the shelves now. That shit's selling.
Mm-hmm.
But
so it's interesting. So is there any other examples maybe that's where it's the opposite, where, and I'll share 2, and one's going to be a bit embarrassing, and I don't want it to be about, it's not a political conversation, but where like a nostalgic feeling got me interested, and I actually thought that it was a creative take on it, or at least different enough to warrant interest. So like when the Roseanne TV show came back on, my wife and I actually enjoyed watching it. And I just remember watching it as a kid and, kind of seeing the same characters come back and how they ended the series in 97 and redid it. I was like, okay, this is different. I can enjoy this as something different. But as far as like movies wise, like when Fury Road came out, even though it wasn't like a reboot, but it was in that same Mad Max type of genre and world, I love that movie. Like, and I think, I saw it being interested about what was new, not really expecting, the feels necessarily, but coming out of it, I thought very surprised for myself and liking it quite a bit.
And just off the chat, Nick said Planets of the Apes. That was a good remake.
Too. Yeah,
It had some legs. The story that they told
Absolutely.
and how they did it was really good.
Mark Wahlberg was great in that thing.
Yeah. I was gonna say.
You know which one I'm talking about.
Just like Mario Van Peebles was great in Solo.
Jesus.
So,
But
yeah,
go ahead, Brian.
I was kind of curious. Right now they're catering to us, right? The people who were raised on Saturday morning cartoons and toys out the fucking wazoo, right? So, for those of you who follow sports ball, there's this one with a ball and a stick and a baseball diamond and stuff like that. They have an era called the steroid era, where
I love that.
a lot of people cheated and bumped their stats up beyond belief, right? And there's all this Hall of Fame hullabaloo, fucking who should be in and who should be out. Like this particular time, when it comes to movies making money, do you feel that this superhero fucking blockbuster shit based off of old nostalgic properties, do you think maybe they're the juicers of the movie area, like right now? And as a result,
Absolutely.
people are going for all that because that's what's making the money, and perhaps maybe stifling new ideas from getting out there. And
Brian, is that what's next after the air fryer? Is it juicers? We're all going to get juicers next.
that's too healthy for this bunch, right?
I don't know if that goes hand in hand, Brian, because like there is a certain bit of nostalgia that factors into these like Marvel movies and these successful superhero movies, because we read the characters, we read the comics as kids and maybe watched the cartoons, but the movies still have to be good, and they are taking some ideas from some storylines from the comic books, but they're presenting them in new ways. It's not exactly how they
well, let me rephrase. So I do not want to take anything away from the Marvel universe, because those guys have just done a financial, financial, but a fantastic job.
That was accurate.
They have done a fantastic job with orchestrating this whole thing. But do you think maybe like all the money is for driving these, and perhaps maybe not getting other ideas a chance to get on the big screen? That's just what I was getting at.
I got an idea about that. JD, you had something you wanted to say.
Oh, well, thank you.
And what's up, JD? How are you doing tonight, bro?
He made it.
I made it.
Yeah, it's in.
Hopefully my levels are right.
Yeah, you're good, brother. You're good.
All right, cool. But yeah, I was just gonna say, I think they're out of ideas, and that's the whole reason they are. They saw the amount of money that this shit made back in the day, so that's why they're pulling it together. They're out of ideas, and they're just taking old ideas and throwing a modern twist on it.
Yeah. I mean, there's only 7 stories you can tell.
That's what I was about to say. I've always heard that there's only 7 basic stories that you could tell, and everything works around that.
Put some twists and stuff in them, but look, running out of ideas or not, Disney didn't buy Lucasfilm to do fucking Young Indiana Jones. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get that, but that's they're gonna make Star Wars. They're gonna make Star Wars till we're sick of it.
You think it'll be this Arlen guy? We'll get this Arlen guy to do it.
Arlen.
So we keep giving them our money.
Han Solo's name.
Yeah.
So I just thought of another franchise that basically, it goes back, I don't know, probably 4 decades or so, and it's still around to today. So we had Planet of the Apes, right? That came out when did it originally come out? In the 60s, 70s, right? 60s, right?
60s.
And people loved it then for what it was. They tried it again in early 2000s, I forget the year, and with Mark Wahlberg, and it was like, it was like, oh, whatever it was. And now they did it again in the last few years, and to me, they blew it out the park. I liked all 3 of the movies that came out.
So,
and what I'm taking away from that is sometimes you can go back to an older reference and make something better, because now the technology's better. Now, you have better writers, you have, you have history that you can put in, they do all this, this fiction that's being done in the time that they're not making the movies. that they can reference to put in a new movie that people might be more interested in. You know, like how they did the whole twist on how they twisted in Planet of the Apes. I like that.
Yeah.
You know, that whole virus thing that went viral. They didn't tell that story in the first in the first, you know, make of Planet of the Apes. It was just the guy woke up and he was on a fucking Planet of the Apes and he couldn't believe it, right? So
Yeah.
I got a kind of a point to that. And I know you're a pretty big horror fan too, but a couple of my favorite movies of all time are remakes, The Fly and The Thing, and they are vastly different from the original movies. Those were in the 80s, and then people kind of look back at The Fly and The Thing from the 80s as being their own, you know, like being the origins, but they had nods to the original. And I think, you know, that was what made the new Planet of the Apes successful, is that it wasn't a retelling. It took the core concepts. And if you look at like the hints and clues, they talk about, you know, like the space mission and everything in the new Planet of the Apes. And, you know, just kind of like The Fly and The Thing kind of have like callbacks to the Vincent Price Fly and the Thing from Another World.
I think what I think what lends to it is that they're, instead of like complete remakes, they're more of like prequels or sequels. Like with The Thing, the one that came out a few years ago, that's more of a prequel. That tells you everything that happened leading up to the Americans, you know, at their whatever the base or whatever, and they find all the Russian stuff and you know, that whole mess. Same with the Planet of the Apes. You know, these three movies were essentially prequels rather than, you know, that they tell the story of everything that happens beforehand.
You know, I think horror is getting a renaissance right now. There's a lot of new properties with horror, like Cloverfield. You know, Quiet Place. It's you know, it's another good example. It's you know, and I think we're all like fans of action and sci-fi, and we're seeing like things that we like kind of stagnating. But there are other areas of entertainment that the fresh new ideas are really starting to come in. And I think maybe that's part of the problem, is we're paying attention to one area, and the movie studios are, you know, going off and doing things we're not noticing.
Yeah. I mean, I just recently saw A Quiet Place. That was pretty awesome.
I heard that's a very interesting.
Which one, Brian? What was it?
The Quiet Place.
Oh yeah, that was different, right? I didn't think it was. Yeah, I agree with you. I saw that as well, and it was something new. It was kind of a different idea. It wasn't like the best movie ever, but I appreciated that it was kind of a unique perspective on some things. So,
and it's got sequel potential. It could be a franchise, I think.
Yeah. Does that nostalgia come into play in like any other areas, like as far as like maybe action figure collecting, or Gary, you mentioned music as well? Like, are there any other examples you might have?
Yeah, so, you know, we talk about toys a lot, and I figured we would be amiss if we didn't kind of talk a little bit. But I saw, one particular kind of crowdfunding, you know, project I was talking to you guys in the chat about. Were the Moss toys, right, and the third-party Transformers. So, Chris, we don't want to lose you, so stay with us.
No, I have plenty of opinion on this, actually.
But I saw that, you know, they'd done some smaller figures, and we have a friend of ours who did the artwork for one of the boxes. But they have a crowdfunding program for G1, you know, Decepticons, the Tetrajets, right? So the Cybertronian version of the jets, the Seekers. And they're doing it as a crowdfunding, which we've talked about before in some different capacities, whether it be third-party companies or Hasbro doing it. But I was just looking at that particular item, and I'll just say it like this: you know, I have plenty of third-party robots and collecting and all that stuff. Is there enough desire for that type of item that was used in a cartoon, you know, 30 plus years ago in one particular episode that I know of? I don't know if it was in any of the other canon. You know, was okay. So I didn't know that they used that shape there too. But I guess my thought was, look, is it just another kind of almost a ploy playing on the nostalgia piece for that and trying to you know, prey on the completist type of mentality for that? Or if you guys had seen it, do you have any thoughts? You know, is it something that you're into, or do you think it's just kind of, you know, not necessary?
So for me, I just want to chime in real quick and say, you know, Gary, what you mentioned as far as is nostalgia not enough? or is it enough, right, for them
Right.
to actually make money off of this, right? Do people care enough about things that showed up in one episode or 2 episodes, whatever? And, maybe they're just trying to get a gauge, because before, in the past few years, maybe not this year, but nostalgia was enough for everybody to buy everything, so maybe that's kind of what their thinking is here.
Yeah, I mean, I think I was actually trying to do the research like on this figure, and I saw that there were pictures being posted on the boards for almost like about a year already. And is it a recent development that these seekers are going to be a crowd-funded project? Is this like something that was recently announced?
Yeah, it was recently announced.
Okay, so all right, so when I was looking back and Google searching, I saw that they had pictures of at least like it looked like a resin model of this figure, and it looked extremely good, like back in July of like last year. And I guess more pictures have been released like since then. So you're thinking, oh man, this is going to be coming out. This is going to be coming out, and it kind of gets you hyped up, like, what I'm saying, like. And I saw people excited on the boards, like these look good, and now all of a sudden they're telling you it's going to be a crowdfunded.
No, you're right. It was okay, Jordan.
I was going to say the important thing is when we say crowdfunded, people should know that you do not have to pay up front for these.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a Kickstarter like the Unrustable Bastards were. And I think that's an important piece of this puzzle. Is
you don't have to pay up front on a Kickstarter. You have to when it closes, you pay.
Well,
yeah, it's the same principle here. Like you don't have to pay, like you could pledge right now basically, but you won't get charged unless it gets it gets funded fully. So
my understanding when I was reading about it was to your point, Jose, is look, they designed the little toys, right? The little figure, I don't know, that wasn't crazy expensive, and they did some repaints of it in different colors, and they kind of jumped to this more advanced project. And as the project, came back from the designers, it was more expensive and more elaborate, but of supposedly higher quality, which led to the cost being higher, which led to them needing to do the crowdfunding to get it to happen because they wanted to put out a better product. And I get that portion, but like anyone knows, I'm in the automotive industry, for a profession, and I think back to like a company like Hyundai. And when they were making cars in the 80s and they had a real cheap car, and they went from having a decent cheap car to a very expensive pseudo luxury car, no one bought it. And no one gave them, would consider buying a Hyundai that was that expensive for another 30 years until they kind of built a reputation. And now they have some products that will rival all of the major luxury brands. So is this, kind of a company trying to jump too far too fast and get the public to fund it? I don't know. Is the product that desirable for that? I don't know that either. I guess I was just curious.
Well, part of it from my standpoint, it's public perception. So the only other thing this company has done, or is that Bumblebee, they did 3 different colors of it. That honestly, can you guys tell me that anybody has just been like, man, that's such a cool figure. I'm so glad I got one.
Yeah, not really.
Well, okay.
Well, maybe Moz Toys has forgotten that. To them, they know that they are actually MMC and make toys all together, and they realize they forgot that the general public doesn't know that.
Well, one thing, and it was mentioned in the chat here, guys, is keep in mind that it wasn't public up front, but if you got any of the Unrustable Bastards, what name's on the back of the box? Moz Toys.
Moz Toys.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So they were the brains behind that, and the guy whose name I won't say, it's behind all of it. But I like I said, I don't know. It doesn't really even. Well, it tells you kind of a scale on there, but what are these kind of chug scaled?
No, they're masterpiece scale.
Are they?
Yeah,
okay.
They're the same size as the regular Seekers. I think
just
the Bumblebee,
just under 8.
With the Bumblebee, though, the Bumblebee and the Goldbug, Glyph, and whatever the white one was supposed to be, like they ended up selling those like a deep discount on their website. I don't think.
$15.
Yeah, that's where I bought it, and I was incredibly happy with my purchase. And I was like, this is a good product.
For how much? For $15?
Yeah, it's like 20 after shipping.
So if you wouldn't pay 50 for it.
It was, I think, 40 when it came out. It was on my short list because I wanted it to go with my War Within Optimus. but that's the type of collector I am. I like the comics. I like to have like small representations of other things that aren't G1. Say for IDW, I'm all in on a chug scale.
I think what Moz. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that that even though I don't know a lot of people that might have it, but I've heard that little figure is a well put together action figure, and the Unrustables as well are very well put together. So I think the quality of Moz Toys, the stuff that they put out so far, you can have confidence in it. And as far as like this crowdfunded thing, it's a design that people like know and would like, and I think the figures look good. So I think it probably will eventually get funded. It's just weird, like how you see like right now, what is it at 20%?
Yeah, I think yesterday it was 20% funded. It goes
it
until
would
July.
It would be interesting. It's just going to be interesting to track it, just to see how into it people actually are, as compared to like an original project like the Unrustables that got funded as well, because people seem to be behind original ideas.
I'm in for all three.
Yeah. So it's interesting. I'm going to make myself sound hypocritical here, but I've backed a couple things over the last several years, and other stuff I haven't. So we've talked a lot about like Mythic Legions, just a little bit, but I'll be honest, it's exciting to me. It's been the most fun I've had in the last 5-6 weeks with collecting, and I wish I could get some of the original figures that were Kickstarters, right? Or trying to find some of those, that had been back that aren't available in mass availability anymore.
Dom's giggling because he bought them all anyway.
Yeah, he did. He knows. But I guess part of me is I think back to our HasLab discussion. I don't know, a couple months ago, and how that project, whoever was putting it together, right? I had strong opinions about it, but once it was funded, they sold even more, right? When people knew that it was definitely going to happen. So is there a human nature piece to that? That when they know for sure they can get it, that might change their perspective, maybe, right?
It's called Mr. Me Too.
Yeah, okay.
Called FOMO.
Yeah.
Right? There definitely is some of that out there. There definitely is.
But I don't know. Those Mythic Legions are an animal on their own. So
to speak.
FOMO.
Their aesthetic is almost nostalgic for just like shit that you've known your whole life. It's just like monsters and orcs and things like that, and stuff like that. But I think the Unrustable Bastards, though, that's an interesting one where there is no backstory that we know of, right? And people are kind of into them, and we've seen Cassie Sark, I think that's his name, like just dropping more and more stuff that might be coming out for that line, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it is kind of familiar, though. I mean, it's a robot that turns into something, right? And we're kind of used to that already, so it kind of falls into the same. It's not like you're going to put your Unrustable Bastards with your Mythic Legions. You're going to put them with the Transformers, right? So it kind of like all fits together. And I think with the Moz Toys thing, they had to start somewhere, and they started with that Bumblebee that they came out with, and they tested the waters. And look at those shitty ass Tetrajets that fucking people still buy on eBay from time to time. I want to set a Tetrajets. I think it'd be cool to have them just in that mode, and I'd buy the shitty ones if I could find them for cheap.
It's like your Dinobots in dinosaur mode,
right? So I think that this might go somewhere. I mean, eventually.
What's fun about a triangle, though?
Because the thing is, there's some of us that like the G1 cartoon, and I think more than meets the eye, the Wheeljack, Soundwave is the lamppost, the Tetrajets, and Bumblebee. Yeah,
right.
If someone made seriously, if someone made Soundwave as a lamppost, I'd buy the shit out of that.
Really?
Yeah.
You can also transform your Masterpiece one into the lamppost.
In kind of one, but because it's iconic to me. It's like I watched that episode like 50,000 times when I was a little kid.
Jordan,
you that VHS out.
You can stack some blocks and just like a tower, and
I mean, Gary, they're not like a necessity. You don't need it. Your collection's not going to suffer because you don't have them. But if they're obtainable and they're there, and you think they look cool and they're cheap, pick them up. And I think that's where these Moz Toys things are going to go. I mean. You're telling me that those other ones went for $15. So who's to say that these aren't going to be 25 eventually each? And to have a set of, Seekers that look actually pretty good when you transform them, and they look good in both modes essentially. You can be like, fuck it, I'll pick them up. I'll pick up a set. I don't know what the set's going for, but
two are $80 a piece.
$80 a piece.
Yeah, 90 each. But
90
buy
each.
All three, six.
Yep.
I mean, so I got that Bumblebee on the cheap, and then I was like, you know what? I really want to support these guys because I think they're making a quality product. They're making stuff that people aren't making. You know, I'm tired of seeing the same stuff. Let's make another Trailbreaker. Let's make another Blitzwing. You know,
and I think what sets these apart also is that I don't think they're being a slave to the tune design either. They're very updated, sleek looking, modernized, and looking bots. They look good.
And we always preach you find your lane and stay in it. So if they started out with that aesthetic, they're gonna keep going with it. I mean, again, everybody started somewhere. We're all fanboys of Fans Toys, right? What was their first thing? The trail, the fucking trailer.
Yeah.
Like look where they are today.
And then a sound wave that never came out.
Yeah.
Acoustic wave.
So if this thing fails, does that mean no one has any interest in anything in this line, and basically they're not going to make it, and then eventually some other company will make it later? You think, or
they probably just won't get made, I guess. But what is your guys' opinions on the whole thing as a whole, like as far as the crowdfunding in general? Because I saw when the post came out, like on that day in the groups, like there were some people that were cool with it, but then I saw like a lot of fuck this shit, fuck that, fuck this company for doing that. Like, do you have an opinion on that one way or another?
Anyone of merit saying that? Just kind of curious. I mean, you don't have.
Nobody that I'm gonna be able to point out, but it just in general, like I saw a couple of comments like that.
I mean, because they're not. Basically, it's a long-term pre-order. Is basically what it is.
Right.
Those are the guys that are going to be buying them secondhand and paying double for them when down the line. So they can complain all they want. I think it's smart. You know what I mean? You're not gonna. It's just like I'll throw Chris out there. We come out with a new Realm shirt, right? He has to take pre-orders for that because he's not going to assume that everybody under the sun's going to like the design, right? So he's not going to go order 500 shirts and only sell 150. So I think it's smart that these dudes are like, throwing it out there, throwing a bone out there saying, hey, let's see if we can get enough people to buy this. If so, we'll fucking make it.
I think they learned from their mistake with the Bumblebee. Like, they're in a niche market. They're like, what they're designing is very, definitely G1, hardcore. Those figures had short appearances in those designs. So those G1 hardcore are going to want those designs because it brings back that, like, going back to nostalgia for them. So I think what they're doing with the crowdfunding is smart on their part because they want to see whether they have a market to do these toys.
Right, and Dom, I agree with you. I mean, and these guys are not. I mean, they're not some new company that only put out a Bumblebee, right?
Yep.
Right. They're on the back of the Unrestable Bastards. They were at the same table as MMC and Make Toys, right, at the last TFCon. I mean, these people know what's going on. MMC already did a Kickstarter. Make Toys, remember that bullshit with the Galaxy Meteor and all that other stuff, right? And so they know that the pool of money for third-party stuff, or obscure stuff, I should say, isn't quite there like it used to be, right? So large. It makes sense. It makes sense to gauge the waters.
Okay. Yeah.
And they're doing this on their own, so they don't have to pay 30% up to the big man.
Yeah, that's just what I was about to say. Like, is this the first company that's done that, like on their own website, like the first time, like outside of Kickstarter? Does anybody know?
Yeah,
I think it's
pretty
interesting.
Was Make Toys a Kickstarter proper?
No, but it counts. I mean, they were upset about the pre-orders, and I mean, the reason I like this is because it eliminates that drama. They can say right up front, is there enough interest before we ship this out to retailers?
Sure.
Because that Bumblebee, from what I can see, kind of bombed.
I wouldn't say bombed. I'm just saying they might have not read their market. They.
Isn't that the definition of bombing, though?
Yeah,
it also came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
So Chris, I know you really supported the. I'm drawing a blank. those ninjas, right?
Yeah, articulated icons.
Thank you. Okay,
which are available again right now at our Articulated Icons website. If you want to.
But my understanding was that there was a lot. Look, I'm not an expert on manufacturing overseas and everything that goes into it, but that there was extreme delays from when that Kickstarter started, from what they thought their time frame would look like. What was the communication like throughout the process for you as a customer from them?
They sent out pretty decent updates. I mean, it was
okay.
You'd almost forget about it, and then they'd send an update. So you were never like, I wonder what the hell's going on. They'd be like, hey, we got production samples in, and the reason it took so long is they got the production samples, and they were fucked up. So they made them start over, and that's what took so long. So at the end of the day, and they said this, look, we can send you this half-assed product, or we're going to do what we're going to do and have them do it the way we want it done.
Okay.
So, and I give the Fwoosh credit for wanting to give us a good product and not rushing out something that was subpar. I mean, was there still issues with some of those? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But look, you're going to have issues with anything. I mean, Mercedes and BMW have recalls, so let's be honest. Everybody's some issues.
And so it's interesting. It's good to hear because I didn't know firsthand. But I will just say this: having read like the Moss Toys site, they seem to be as transparent as possible with a realistic time frame for what it looks like, when it's funded, what the next steps would be, and the time frame from kind of A to B and B to C and C to D, without the unrealistic time frame, which I think causes people a lot of frustrations because let's face it, people, collectors are impatient. We want the stuff right away. We want it yesterday.
I think it would be nice if Fans Toys kind of did that to kind of gauge what people want next. Yeah. And, I wish more companies would do this to get away from these kind of wars of, who's going to release what first, when, rushing it to market. We saw that with Rouge, and now people are like, I guess I hope MMC's RC might be better.
Yeah, the thing is, you probably just might have too many different.
We've got a lot of competition.
If they're throwing stuff out there, like who do you want to see next? Like they would just have to find a way to just narrow it down. Like, hey, you got a choice of these three. So which is?
Hasbro did that with the Titans.
Yeah,
We all know they had them made already. So
it's basically like which one are we going to prioritize? Like that would be cool if they did something like that.
Fans' choice figures and.
To get back on Gary's nostalgic kick, Chris, I wanted to ask you. So, first off, just to say one thing, as I'm putting my collection together, and I, seen going to the 5 Point Fest in Brooklyn, with a lot of weird stuff, and this Mythic Legions thing that has kind of taken over half of the BTM cast, and things like these Pacific Rim figures and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I find that I'm collecting a lot of things because I've started a line and that's what I want to finish, or a lot of my buddies are collecting the same thing. So I feel like that's what I want to collect because I want to talk about it and interact. And, sometimes I feel that my shelves are filling up, and as a result, I don't have room to buy things that I otherwise might be interested in. As far as toys, and I've noticed that you have dumped like the collection of the Masterpiece Transformers that kind of helped, believe it or not, build the communities that we're in now. And then you're kind of collecting modern stuff, like all the stuff behind you, right, is all recent fiction and things like that. And I was kind of curious, how did you break the hive mind collective?
So I guess you would be speaking of me not really giving a shit about nostalgia, it seems.
Okay.
At all. I mean, I'm trying to figure out the best way to answer your question. So I think, I dumped the majority of my Masterpiece collection. You're right. Because I lost the passion for that. And do I have nostalgic feelings about these characters? I do. And I boiled down the majority of the nostalgia I had was, am I nostalgic about Skids? I don't think so. Am I nostalgic about Hoist and Trailbreaker? It might be a stretch as well. Nostalgic about the 86 movie. and that's truly my root in Transformers would be the 86 movie. So, and apparently there's children being murdered upstairs. But I mean, my collection's all over the place, and my collection is fluid. So I may get bored with something. I may be selling Hydra army builders next week just because I'm out of the mood to collect them. But as far as the hive mind, I mean, I don't know. I might be guilty of creating somewhat of a hive mind because
I was going to elaborate on that as well. There's an approach around.
Well, there was an approach around. I think I'm going to rename it Sam's Formers approach at this point.
Right. And then a certain masked friend of ours, like all of a sudden is, he wants his toys to be 12 inches and no less. Kind of.
Well, I will tell you that. That me selling some Star Wars hot toys to Mr. Skullface, I think changed the game. And I'm not trying to come off like I'm some hot shot shit, but I think I post a lot in our group, and I'm on the show on Monday, and I talked about changing the hot toys, and everybody sees this shit behind me. I mean, I think a lot of people are taking a second look at doll life maybe than they were, say, a year ago. Would you guys agree with that?
Maybe. Still can't play with it.
How many people on this panel are either have some or pre-ordered something in the last year?
Balls deep. Try that one.
I know.
Balls deep. Try balls deep. Yeah. Well, you know what it is, Chris, too. I mean, you can. I mean, in essence, you can say, hey, kind of like a prophet or whatever, but.
Prophet, Pinkerton prophet.
Pinkerton the prophet, but I mean, you tried it, right? You were one of the first guys to dabble into that, right? And
yes, and I knew what kind of shit I was going to get over, but I did it anyways.
Right. And, it scared a lot of people originally with the price point, right? But it's not until that person actually gets to appreciate it when they see somebody else that has it or, gets to fuss around with it, until they know what the fuck you're looking at, because you could sit here and say, okay, they're dolls, right? They look like dolls from a distance. But when you have them in hand, you see the detail that went into them, and you're looking at it, and you're like, holy fucking shit, I'm holding a mini fucking human in my hand. That's what it looks like. It looks that good. I like this. I'm gonna fucking buy one, And then when you buy one, and you buy the next one, and you're like, you start appreciating them for what they are.
Yep.
It grabs a hold of you. Like I still love my fucking Figuarts, my 112 Scout stuff. I think it's fun to play with. JD, you're not completely wrong where you're saying you can't play with them, right? There's only so much you can do with a Hot Toys, but it's also your 112 stuff is only going to look so nice depending on how you display it, how much battle scenes you put them in, what kind of poses you have them in. You put a Hot Toys staring into a corner with some light on it, and it looks like a fucking $1,000,000. It's just it brings something new to the table. It brings like that appearance that you're looking for out of a high-end collectible.
And that's to me what it is. And look, the majority of my collection is 6-inch figures or 6-inch-ish figures. And I like to screw them. Like I'm screwing this little robot dude I got at 5 Points right now while we're talking.
Uh-huh.
I mean, am I gonna get fucking the Joker out and start posing him right now? He's where he is and he's there. I mean, these to me it's almost like more like art pieces. And honestly, I think I don't collect statues like I would. Yeah, I collect these because I'm still an action figure collector at heart, and these are technically action figures.
Yeah, I mean, I always felt, Chris, that you were more or less more in love of building that display than the characters themselves, aside from the Suicide Squad, right?
I think the display may be what got so many people more so than the actual doll life.
Right. And then when you had those Transformers and the Detolfs that were once behind you, you're like, well, it doesn't look as good as the other ones.
Yeah, it doesn't.
What else is 12 inches and hot that I can put in there that'll look good?
I can give you that.
That's fine.
Marvel. I got something for you.
But
yeah, an air fryer.
Yep.
So,
but in that case, that's one of those examples where nostalgia is not enough to get you to buy a representation of something, right? Where, I mean, that's why you dump some that stuff, and you even started dumping your 6-inch Star Wars stuff.
Yeah, but I bought Star 6-inch Star Wars since then.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But
for me, go ahead.
I dumped a lot of it though.
Yeah. So for me, I kind of touched on like my situation where I'm just like, I feel like I'm a slave to nostalgia almost, or the hive mind. But like the rest of you guys, are there things that you're not picking up because the nostalgia for it's not enough, or things that you're getting disinterested in because of that?
Well, it's not a secret, I still do buy the Masterpiece scale, Transformer stuff, some of the MMC, IDW stuff, but I fell off big time with Transformers. Like, I used to buy everything and anything that came out. You know what I mean? Like those Monster Bots that came out last year or the year before. I was about to jump on those, and I'm like, you know what, dude? Like, you don't know nothing about them, really. Do you really need them? I did buy Headmasters. I did watch some of the Headmasters, but was I completely in love with them? No. Like, it's like if there's an ongoing fiction like Star Wars, for example, we've talked about it a million times, but it's still waking me up every day. You know what I mean? We're still talking about it. To bring up a Transformer, we're just talking about something that's potentially coming out, and we're worried about the articulation, and is it going to look good? Is it going to be what we want out of, the character? But when's the last time we saw any fiction on that character? It's been forever, Look, so why are we holding on to it so dearly?
Look, I'll say I will always have a warm place in my heart for Transformers, because look, none of us would know each other if it wasn't for Transformers. Right. True. Let's just we boil it down. That is the root of our collecting. But we've all known each other. Let's just say 3-4 years at most, and some of us not that long. Almost all of us have transitioned to something else. Mm-hmm. But I think the passion's still there. And look, if the right thing comes out and I like it, I'll get it. But it's not. Dave, to an extent, if it was a Masterpiece and it came out at one point in time, I was like that. Then I switched it, I went from just Autobots to everything, to just Fans Toys and Takara, and then down to just basically what I have now, the 86 Autobot cast. So, I just think it's, I think some of us have found, the higher end Masterpiece stuff we liked, and then, we found the Hot Toys was essentially the same. And I look at it this way, guys. So, Masterpiece is, by name, the best representation of that character you're going to get, right? Mm-hmm. Are we going to get a better representation of any superhero character other than the 12-inch Hot Toys in quarter scale? Not. Yeah, so you look at it that way, you're just getting the best representation of the character that you like.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or that you got a good deal.
I don't know. Like I can make an argument there as a Figuarts collector. I mean, yes, Hot Toys may have the details, but you may not be able to get them in the poses, the dynamic poses.
That's why I have a whole shelf full of all this other shit too.
And I look behind Brink and I look at his shelf with Vision on there, and I mean, those are Marvel Legends, but still, getting that group shot with those dynamic poses, Batman and Superman like that. I don't know. I think there's different levels of appeal, like the way that, there are different levels of appeal.
I hear what you're saying, Zero. Like, but do you think, like, with the Hot Toys figure, do you think those figures are made with the intent to really be played with and posed?
No, they're not.
They're not.
But I think part of getting a good representation of a character is getting it into a pose and not worrying about things like, I've heard a lot of horror stories of people getting the first Deadpools into dynamic poses, and Deadpool is a character that should be in a dynamic pose, and then the faux leather dry rots. Parts Former, friend of the show, friend of mine, he had the Hot Toys Hulk. That thing dry rotted in the center, broke in half.
Hot Toys. I'm going to defend Hot Toys here. They are making advances in articulation with their figures. So it's a growing, toy line like anything else. It's constantly striving to be better. You can see that in some of their old releases to their new releases. I think they'll eventually get there, with that articulation, especially on those more characters that need that, like Spider-Man and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I got the Homecoming Spider-Man, and he can put them in poses, that you can get out of not like a Revel Tech or something like that, but you can get them into poses that can what Spider-Man would get into. So I feel like they're definitely making those advances. It's just like Chris said, it's like I would say it's the masterpiece of Transformers. Hot Toys is the best representation of what you can get for that character. So you got your Marvel Legends, you got your figure arts, Revel Tech if you want to put it in the same category, or Figma, and then you got your Hot Toys.
Well, look at the Flames toy stuff that's coming out, right?
Exactly.
It looks fucking great, right? It looks great, but you can't do much with it. You can't transform it, right? But it's a transformer, right?
Well, you can't transform it, but you can do a lot with it.
Right. You can't transform it, but you can do a lot with it. But
Flame Toys is going to be a very interesting story, because we always thought that Masterpiece was that top tier. Now, is Flame Toys, or what they're doing, is that going to then take the next tier of what Transformers can be? And just
because I mentioned I wasn't impressed.
Yeah, but like the thing is that we, most of us, 98% of all our Transformers we have are in our robot mode. I don't think anybody has them in their alt modes all across the board. You know what I'm saying? Like, we display. But like,
listen,
Grimlock, I'll put him in Dino mode. But like
I got Seekers in jet mode. I got a spare Prime in truck mode.
90% of your figures are in robot mode, and at the end of the day,
they are. But
we can see them.
You can also see a Seeker jet, and you can see a
I see it.
Yeah, and then when I buy my house and have my basement set up, there will be a variety, because I got a lot of shit boxed up, and I fully intend on finishing out my Make Toys Seekers. So the other Seekers are going to go in robot and jet mode. I kind of have a little bit of like what Jisk has going on.
Chris, you said the Me Too mentality, right? And Brian, you said it's like the FOMO, the fear of missing out. And we're throwing around a lot of different brands and Flame Toys and Hot Toys and kind of defending stuff. But I think you guys can correct me if I'm off base, myself included. There's a balance between seeing something we like and collecting something that's fun to us that we enjoy. And then also when someone else gets something or is into something that piques our interest, we're curious, or we want to see, or we do feel we might miss out on some of it. And I'm sure people in the chat maybe see the same thing.
I have a perfect
writing that line right in between the both.
Perfect example of that is the Bandai Robot Spirits Pacific Rim Uprising figures. How many of us have those?
Me.
How many of us have touched those since we bought them?
How many have the NECA figures that came out for the first movie?
I didn't get those.
No, I skipped those.
I did actually see today the diamond ones, Diamond Select ones. But obviously at this point I have them all, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I saw those at FYE, and I was actually really glad I went with the Bandai ones.
Yeah, they got some nice paint effects on them, but other than that, but that seemed to be, I was almost like that Flame Toys drift. Everybody just like, Bobby reviewed it. There was a good deal on that Japanese Amazon, and next thing you know, here's a dozen people that hadn't shown any interest in it or talking about it.
Yeah, but that's like when you have a trusted source that's like hyping it up as the greatest thing ever.
Sure.
That also kind of made me reevaluate greatest things ever, because I don't like that figure and I'm getting ready to sell it.
I mean, I ignored Chris for years listening to him talk about Hot Toys. I was just like, fuck that. They're too expensive. But it wasn't until I saw his in person that I'm like, you know what? These are fucking dope and I need one, So it's not until you see it sometimes.
Yep.
Right.
That's my opinion on that Flames Toys drift. I'm saying, Jordan, I think the opposite. Like I wasn't interested just because of the price point and the size of it, but then I got it in hand and I'm like, man, I know where this money's going, and it is a delicate piece.
I don't like handling it.
It's delicate. It is a delicate piece, but you could tell the quality of the piece of it.
It's just delicate. Debatable on my end. I got the arm. The arm popped apart. I had to put we call it Loctite on it to fix it. I mean, it was meant to be glued together, but I was like, man, I could have spent that $300, I could have put that towards the down payment on a house, into my fund for that. It's just.
Well, man, you could say that about every.
I can say that about a lot of things.
Right.
I can say that about a lot
That's
of
your
things.
goal.
You got a room full of a down payment there.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah,
But no, that was like probably my most disappointing purchase of the year so far.
Oh,
but you seem to be the type of person that likes to be more hands-on with your figure. So maybe that's why that didn't live up to your expectations.
But I've got high quality pieces that I can be hands-on with.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to transform like the Maz.
talk to me that way, Jordan.
Like the MAS Optimus and Megatron, those are pretty high quality. They're large scale figures and they're sturdy. They light up. They look great. And yes, True Starscreamer, I am getting the Solid Chikoken Dragon Zord, and that's one of the things I do like, is I love Solid Chikoken. Those are pieces that are durable, you can be handsy with, and yet I view them as some of the best representations, if not the best representations of certain mecha that you can buy. And not just with not just with Voltron, but with Gal Gar and the Megazord.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
They don't have to transform and combine, yet they do.
That's a good example of a company that relies on nostalgia but takes it the next level and puts out something really, really quality too.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Like your Mazingers, they have the optional. I'm not into that fiction, but I like the robot designs, and I know some of them have like the little things that go into their heads, and some of them have the folding wings, and then there are ones that are just solid pieces if you so choose to have a solid piece. With Gal Gar, he comes with perfect transformation hands, but he also comes with fully articulated hands that you can pop off if you want them to be accurate. It's just options.
Cool. Yeah, it's interesting to see because like you said, you like to be more hands-on, and apparently JD, you as well, because you're apparently not into the hot toys because they're can't be manipulated.
Come here, boys.
Much. I got to see Chris's display in person though, and I mean all those figures that he has in his display are posed pretty well. Like I mean they do the job, they do what they're supposed to do, and I think the presentation also is a big aspect of collecting those. If you could display them the way he has them displayed, that's what you want. That's the end goal, basically.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I love the way they look, and they're all but real. I mean, seen everything at Bobby's, seen Chris's. They're beautiful pieces. But I'd rather have something I can just reach behind me, grab it off the shelf, and start fucking with it.
Are you not open to having of course, if you have the means and be able to acquire that stuff, would you not have that type of collection, but still collect, the smaller scale stuff that you like to play with?
I mean, I don't know. I'd probably say I have stuff like that though. That I would just, I mean, your Lego and stuff like. I have a lot of the the Ultimate Collector Series stuff, and it's not really playable, really. What I mean? Just kind of sits on the shelf. I have stuff like that in my collection, just not like Hot Toys, not anything recent anyway.
Yeah.
JD, you got some statues, right?
No.
Okay, never mind. I've got some video game statues, but that's about it for my statue life.
No.
Yeah, see, I have some older like animated Star Wars statues, so I had already been doing that, years in the past, but then I started getting into the articulated figures instead. So that's when I went 112.
So. And do you see yourself getting out of that, even though that you're now getting into the?
Oh no, not at all. It hasn't slowed me down one bit.
So, I got a question for you, Dave.
Yeah.
If you had to choose, get rid of all your fig arts or get rid of all your Hot Toys for Star Wars, what would you pick?
Ooh. Ugh, shit. That's a hard question, dude. Like, why you put me on the spot like that? But
because
if I had to choose, in all honesty, because of space, and I would probably get rid of the fucking 112 stuff because it just doesn't do the same thing. Like I'll give you an example. I have somebody working on my house, right? Working on my room upstairs. He has no interest in toys, but he grew up he's the same age as me. He grew up watching the same things we did. He knows about Transformers, Star Wars, all that. He's like, "What are you putting in this room?" Right? So I went and showed him a few things, right? And I showed him a Hot Toys figure. And he was like, "Holy shit, this is so cool. This looks just like the fucking the actor." And I said, "Exactly." He goes, "Wow, I can see why you're putting this up now." You know what I mean? Somebody who doesn't have any interest in what we were into was fascinated by the look of that figure. And
Hey,
I think
Dave,
if I would have pulled out a 6-inch figure and handed it to him, he would have been like, "Oh, okay, that's cool. My nephew has one of those."
But Dave, you've done some amazing photos on your Instagram account. How many times have you used the Hot Toys in one of your photos?
Not very much because I haven't taken pictures of them. But
That's
you're right.
I'm just
Right.
but
Gary, you're making a great point because the smaller stuff is the stuff that I probably take pictures of. The other, the 1/6 scale stuff is for me. It's for me to enjoy. That's that's the look I want.
But do you no? And I'm playing devil's advocate because like I'm staring like across at my stuff and I'm looking at a Hulkbuster that I barely move, like a Hot Toys, right? I dust it with a Swiffer like once a week, very carefully. And then I look at a bunch of 6-inch stuff that I manipulate and have been playing with and kind of, rearranging maybe once a week. And I probably have more fun with the others. The Hulkbuster is by far more impressive. Anyone who's seen it, right, it stands out to them. So are you more excited that the reaction you get from the Hot Toys is exciting to you versus your own enjoyment because you take pictures of the other stuff and you have more fun manipulating it?
It's two different worlds for me. It honestly is. And what I'm looking for, what I'm looking at now, and this is just recent, last few weeks, is my future. So I'm 37 years old. It's not like I'm, pushing 60, but one day I will be. And one day, all this plastic that's upstairs, it's got to go somewhere because who knows if I'm going to be into it then. I may not be able to even get up the fucking stairs at 65. You know what I'm saying?
Jesus Christ.
I'm just saying, Gary, I'm not you. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is I more than likely, if I still have my 1/6 scale Hot Toy stuff, that's something that I can probably look at and leave alone as opposed to 55 fucking SH Figuarts scattered across the shelf. You know what I mean? So after a while, your collecting habits are going to change. So I'm just thinking long term now. I'm not going to pick up every little figure that I see. I might pick up an occasional big figure every so often. And that's it.
Well, I like what Chris said earlier, which is, when you see something, if you keep an open mind, maybe you'll like it. We talked a lot about, a lot of different stuff. And I got a second Make Toys Starscream after seeing it on a shelf, actually at Bobby's house. And I love it. And I'm going to complete the whole team of Seekers for the first time ever with the other two Make Toys ones when they come out. I know, which is not me, right? Doing a whole team. But at the same time, last week I was at the mall and, in a Disney store, and I bought one of those toy box kind of anime style, Marvel figure and a Star Wars figure. And they're $10 each. And I love them. I think they're really neat. They're different. They're a different look. They're fun to manipulate. They've got articulation. And, it was a $10 toy. So I think what I've just kind of accepted is, Chris said his collection's in flux. I think I'm probably known for having a collection that's constantly in flux. I, passed some figures on to some guys in the ROC over the last, week and a half or so to get some different things. But I don't feel like I'm missing out anymore by labeling or limiting, I guess, to a certain brand or certain scale. And,
that's just it, though. I'm not limiting either. I'm buying everything. That's what
everything.
You get.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. I'm dabbling. I'm just sharing my experience. It's not that I'm saying Hot Toys are better than anything, because like I said, if Transformers came out with some kind of fiction in the next year or two, if they decided to do like a new animated series on Netflix and they fucking brought it back to the G1, I might jump back into it. I might fall in love with it again.
Or if the Bumblebee movie is good.
Right. I might fall in love with it again, but
it can be good.
Now it's not piquing my interest.
What you just said was interesting, Dave, that you're not being like a slave to the 6 scale, just to that scale. Because Mervin48 in the chat, he was asking the entire panel, like, how do you guys feel about the 112 stuff with cloth goods like Mezco, or the new Soap Studio line as an alternative to the 1/6 stuff?
I wouldn't say it's an alternative. I think it's an alternative to your 112 stuff. I mean, it's taking some of the concepts from Hot Toys and shrinking it down. Look, I sell Mezco, and I love the product, and I think a lot of us on the panel do too. But it's you can't compare it, in my opinion. to a Hot Toys release.
The level of detail, I mean, and even just the way that the cloth goods fit on the figure just does not look the same.
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't. Like Dave said, you know, the smaller scale you get, the harder it is to work with. So
I think it's a case by case basis. Look, I think there's some Mezco with the cloth that look phenomenal, right? And there's some that don't look so good. I think there's some Hot Toys that look. Not every Hot Toys is a winner either, just because it says Hot Toys.
Every
on the
Hot
box.
Toy's a winner, Gary.
Every
Hot
All
Toy.
right. So the guy who bought Finn from freaking
that Finn is awesome, dude.
Yeah, it's an awesome toy. It's a guy in a jacket and pants.
Awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah.
And it's Finn.
Well, a lot of
It's Boy Jaega.
You got something against Finn, Gary?
Dinosaur.
Dinosaur.
The way the
You got baby beluga under your table right now.
Listen.
Is anybody else on the panel
Oh,
like
right.
into the
He's
one
right.
Mezco stuff?
He's right
Yeah,
here.
show your beluga.
The only Mezco I have is Judge Dredd. That's it.
And
I'm counting my customers on your panel. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm a customer.
I've got an order for Cashbox for some Ghostbusters here later this year.
That's right.
Chris told me the other night. He goes, "I got you and Dom down for everything that comes out, unless you tell me otherwise."
Get on that auto. Get on that auto order.
Yeah, they're on auto with me.
Auto
Get on that
pre-order.
auto.
Yeah, I've yet to dive in, but I did already tell Chris like once that John Wick drops.
The thing,
Oh,
dude. I think you need to understand yourself as a collector. Like I like with Dave, I'm collecting Hot Toys as well, and I like it's like I like the 6-inch. I like the 6-inch. And I don't think I want to give it. I like the 6-inch figures, Jordan.
That's why I say 12.
Yeah, 12-inch. But like I like that size, and I enjoy. Oh my god, fuck it, I'm out.
No. You like that?
Go ahead.
Deep.
I don't think I'm going to go away from buying 6-inch figures. I definitely enjoy them for what they are, and yeah, would I love to just say fuck it and just sell them all and just put that money into Hot Toys? Of course, I would love to do that. But every time I think about it, I feel like I'm going to have a regret. That I sold some of the figures that I would want to keep,
It's a
and
fear of missing out.
I'm missing out. Yeah, but that's me. Like I feel like I collect what I like, and I'll buy whatever I want, and if I can do both, thank God. But if I can't, then I'll just buy what I can, and if it's a Hot Toy and or 6-inch figure, then I'll buy whatever I need to buy to make myself enjoy my collection. So, and it's in regards to also Hot Toys. I feel the same with Dave. Like I feel like it's something that I can enjoy as a figure staying there in a display case, and I would like to look at it and see it and enjoy it for what it is. And then I can enjoy the 6-inch figure for playing around with it and taking it out of the cabinet and playing with the toy to get that nostalgic feeling with regards to playing with the toy as a kid. You know what I'm saying? So,
Right.
I'm having a nostalgic feeling right now with this Marvel Legends Wolverine.
That's 12-inch.
Fuck.
Right?
Yeah, T-Man picked it up for me. It's $25 at his Toys R Us, and I was a big fan of the 12-inch Toy Biz one back in the day. So this ticks a lot of boxes for me.
Yeah, nice.
It just said in the chat, he said Mezco. He thinks Mezco is a good brand for people that want to test out the soft goods or are contemplating making the leap from 6-inch to Hot Toys. So
funny
like I guess
story.
a way to test the waters.
Funny story. Jisk had never actually seen a Mezco in person until he was at my house a couple months ago, and he did not realize it was a 6-inch figure.
Yeah.
All the time we worked on him, he didn't realize it was a 12 scale figure. Shout out.
And the thing with Mezco is that they're not, they're one like limited in some ways, and they're appealing to a collector that wants to take that soft good plunge, and sometimes they nail it and hit it out of the park, and sometimes they don't. But from my perspective of why I collect Mezco is because I fell in love with certain of the figures that they did come out with, and they were amazing, and they just keep improving. They keep making good quality figures, and at the end of the day, they're hard to get, and they barely reissue any of them. So
I think it is a balance of the soft goods and the playability.
Yep.
Because I mean they do have limits, like someone like the Daredevil, for example. You're not going to take his shoulder all the way around, or you're gonna break it.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you know those limitations, you can have a lot of fun with them still.
Yep.
Whereas you may not with your hot toys.
That's right.
Yep.
All right. Awesome, man. This was a good discussion. Some good back and forth tonight, guys. Really, really good stuff. Let's just wrap this up, and of course we always continue unbroadcasted, and we'll be posting the link out for anybody that wants to hop in and join us. So let's just run it down the line real quick at somewhere you at. Brian Brink, I'll start with you.
Brian Brink in the Facebook groups, at Brinklizer on Instagram, and that is all. Maybe coming to another trendy toy show near you someday.
Doing enough.
Brian, I got to hit you up. There's one near me the same day, the morning that the meetup's happening.
Okay.
I'll get you the details.
Great.
All right. Next up, Energon Addict.
Yo, you can find me on Instagram, Energon Addict. Yes, I do still love Transformers, everybody. I don't hate them, okay? I still collect them. It's just my interests have varied. So Energon Addict on Instagram, Dave Cologne, the Facebook groups.
All right, Big Dom.
You can find me at Dominic Ross in the groups, and here Tuesday night with you fine gentlemen.
Right, Extra Zero.
Yeah, so you can find me on the Facebook groups as James Jordan. You can find me on PlayStation Network, Xbox Live as Extra Zero, on Twitter at The Original Zero. Be sure to check the Realm of Collectors Facebook page and the DMV Action Figure Society. I've got an event posted June 30th if you're in the DMV area. Come by. We'll be having another meetup at Frisco Pub in Columbia, Maryland. So I'll keep posting details on the Realm of Collectors page. Other than that, you can find me here every Tuesday night. And yeah, that's all.
Awesome. All right. JD.
You can find me at your local Apple store hacking limbs off of employees. Shout out to fucking Apple. Anyway, yeah, you can find me JD Brocious in the Facebook groups, Pigment Surgery on Instagram and Xbox Live. Here with these fine fellas every Tuesday, as long as my shit's gonna work. And finger bagging, whenever that gets back to going.
What?
Soon enough. All right, G Money.
Gary Allen in the Facebook groups. I do have G Money 1010 on Instagram. So that's where you can find me.
Gary.
All right, our special guest, Chris Pinkerton.
Yo, Pinkerton on Instagram. PKR10, Christopher Pinkerton on the good book, because that's what my mama named me. Crashbox Customs on all your social media. I make stuff. Sell stuff.
I make stuff.
Make stuff and then sell what I'm make. I don't know. Anyways. Holler at me for some cool stuff either way.
Yep. And as for myself, Harrican BX all over social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Xbox Live, the PlayStation Network. Here every single night on BTM with these fine gentlemen. And I have a little podcast on my own called Verbally Challenge with Harrican BX. That's available on all audio platforms. So please just check it out. I'd really appreciate it. Before we head out, remember to check out our website, realmofcollectors.com. Merchandise is available on the website to purchase, and we always appreciate the love and support from the community. Shout out to friends.
Oh, I'm sorry, real quick. We got some new merch coming.
Ooh.
I'm not gonna spoil the figgy pudding, but keep your ears and eyes open. Sorry.
Love figgy
pudding.
I bet I can guess what color it is.
You heard it here first.
Come on.
It's pink, Gary.
Shout out to friends of the show at Figure Photography Crate on Instagram. That's our boy 10K. Third Party Unlimited, tfprototype.com, kumastyle.com, Retro Now on YouTube, TKO, and the Blackout and Shout crew. Join us on Facebook, where there is a group, Realm of Collectors. We're on Instagram at Realm of Collectors. Breaking the Mold is a proud part of the Cool Table Network, so please pull up a chair. It's the hub for like-minded podcasts, including Enter the Realm, Plastic Fanatics, Shattercast Uncut, Toy Detox, Nerd Rage Radio, Stasis Lock, Building Up to It, and Fresh Communication. You can find the Cool Table on Facebook and subscribe to all the other podcasts on iTunes and Google Play. That's our show for tonight, guys. Thank you for everybody watching and listening. We are the ROC. We're not going anywhere. So get to know us. We'll see you next week. Peace out, guys.
Toodles.
Peace.
Have a great